Hey, I'm at the World Championship Elk Calling Competition. It's here in Big Sky, Montana. I'm hosting it with Christy Titus. It's put on by the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation. Ben, this is really fun for me. You know, your family name, strong one in the outdoor industry, hunting industry. Really cool, followed everybody, you know, your father and everything else you guys have done. But what's really cool is you're a judge at the World Championship Calling Contest.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about the pressure, because the pressure that you guys have behind the screen, and I've talked about this with everyone. I think it's important for people to realize watching this, you guys can't see the callers. So that's why we refer to them as caller 1 and caller 2. We don't say their names. You guys can't see them in any way. So you're just listening to the calls and what's happening.
You know, judging's fun. It's hard though, because you're talking about just single note differences. Like one of the professionals that we just did, it's literally the guy missed one note in a bugle, and that was the difference between the two guys. That's just minuscule, differences.
The hard part is when they're very close. And I know, especially as we get higher up in the rounds, it gets really tight and everybody's good. And when that happens, there's little nuances, and Fred, I haven't spent as much time in the woods as you have, but you spend enough time out there, you're looking for these nuances, you're looking for, would this really happen in these situations, and do they hit all these different, are the cow sounds and calf sounds and variations and depth of feel and all these different things, and sometimes something's out of place, and so a lot of times you're looking for that. But as we get farther along in the rounds, it gets harder and harder, because they're so close.
Yeah, there is a lot of pressure. We want to do the best justice to all of the callers, and I think every judge has their own sequence of things that they're looking for and listening for and running through and judging the points the callers on. But it is so challenging. These guys are so good, and ladies and kids out there, they're so good, and they're going to head, and we definitely have a lot of pressure on us, and we're just trying to do the best we can, to give these guys the justice they deserve. So,
one of the big differences you have coming home to a place like this, you're in this big hall, the acoustics are way different. As a judge, I'm not a competitive caller. Like, I'm an elk guide, that's what I do. I'm listening for acoustics, kind of what sounds good to me, what would work, what didn't work. It's hard because they're all kind of rushed, so you're trying to take that into consideration. They're pulling back. But a lot of the things that I hear that kind of, ding the scorecard for me is when they get too reedy, when the volume control isn't great. But man, this is a tough competition.
From the judge's perspective, I want you to talk a little bit about the pressure of being a judge, because there is, I'm feeling it on the other side.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, I have a unique perspective on this, because I started on that side of the stage, and, I always disagreed or agreed with the judges, or, had these opinions, right? And so
this was the best part of this. Earlier we were talking about that. He's like, from my standpoint, as a competitor, and then a judge, I didn't like judges, but now I'm a judge. So I keep going on that.
No, exactly. And so you have a different perspective. And so there is a ton of pressure being on this side of the fence, so to speak, because you're like, man, I was that guy, and I got a lot of friends over there, and I don't want to be that guy to them. So there's a ton of pressure, and they're all so close, and it's very, very difficult to just be like, man, I hate to make this decision. So yeah, and I think I look for things differently than a lot of other judges. As someone who has spent time on that side, I know what it's like to break a call or to not be able to follow through with a call. And so I hear that and I'm like, oh, that sucks. And so, that's what I'm kind of looking for, is that cleanliness, the diversity. And so I just get a different perspective from being on that side to this side. And, it's super fun to be on this side now and kind of get to listen and just, I can almost hear the nerves in them.
Right, in the call. How about a tip? You know what I mean? From your standpoint, as a judge and as an elk hunter and a guide, do you have a tip for somebody that's coming here? Like, hey, practice this, or this is usually weak on people, something that might help somebody out.
A lot of things guys are missing, distress calls and barks. So like, I'm trying to listen to make sure they know the rounds. I don't want to hear a guy bugle chuckle, bugle chuckle, bugle chuckle out. I want to hear a bark in there. I want to hear like some depth control in your chuckles, maybe straight chuckles into a bugle.
Get your nerves under control, because
Great advice.
I know a lot of these guys and gals that are here, they're great callers, but it's different when you have the pressure of being in front of a crowd. I said I would much rather have a bull elk judge me than a crowd of my peers in a panel of judges.
Right?
I'm judging them on the different sequences that they're going through. If they're getting the calf calls, the cow calls, the mews, the buzzes, the estrus, barks, and then when we go through the bugles, we're looking for, to have a good bugle, to have a good chuckle, listening for the growls, and then the variation too, and reed control.
People are like, I need to be unique. Well, you have to remember that all these bugles, all these cow calls, calf calls are all the same. Don't make it so unique that you set yourself too far apart.
Coming into this, just be confident, set your routine, get a good routine, and practice that first call. It's like the first bow shot. When you go to shoot that first bow shot, it's got to be perfect. And so have that confidence that you can put a call in your mouth and blow that one perfect. I think that starts the cadence, because I know one time way back in the day, it was like if your first call goes bad, it's really tough to recover from that. And so like just being able to get that first one, make it an easy one, know which call you're going to have in your back pocket, execute well, and then the rest seems to flow.
I would encourage anybody that wants to try it to do it, because not only it makes you a better caller, and everybody can use practice, but it also puts you up against some of the people that are world champions. I mean, I think they said 16 world champions here. That's crazy. That's a lot of calls.
I encourage everyone, even if you think you're not very good, it's so much fun. And it's cool to see from when I called at Worlds, 2008 till now, just the number of competitors, it's changed completely. So it's really cool to see the younger generation, making this cool and coming to Worlds and coming out here and calling for all these people. So it's really cool.
Also, take the time to look up and join Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation. If you're not familiar with their conservation efforts, all the millions and millions of dollars that they put into conservation, the amount of land that they have protected for elk habitat, it is unbelievable. So, besides an amazing elk hunting competition, they're doing a ton to keep elk around and manage and conserve an amazing species that we've all come to love.